These show how to resist the opponent's technique by applying an opposing technique of your own. The first counter throw is used against a half shoulder throw. A counter to a reclining leg throw. A counter to an outside hock or hook throw. A counter to a hip throw. A counter to a body drop throw. A counter to a stomach throw. A counter to a full shoulder throw. A counter to the opponent's shoulder wheel. A counter to a shoulder wheel or a reclining leg throw. A counter to a leg throw. A counter to a full shoulder throw. We have selected 4 techniques from the foregoing to analyse here in greater detail. The first analysis is of the counter to a reclining leg throw. Sit down as the opponent is reaching to apply a reclining leg throw. Lean back and swing your left leg up and across the front of the opponent's throat, forcing him backwards. Roll with him, swinging your right leg over the top, but keeping your left instep against his Adam's apple. Make sure his arm is straight and lock the elbow with your shin as you come to a kneeling position. Second analysis is of the counter to a hip throw. Pull back on your right leg as the opponent steps forward. Push against his hip and elbow as he tries to apply the throw, then drop down, hooking your right arm between his upper legs. Shoot your legs to the side, twist your body, and pull on his right arm as you push up with your right. Move with him, throwing your right arm over the top of his shoulder. Bring your right knee up and forward so that it goes past his right elbow. Then hook it back, trapping the forearm in a figure 4 lock. Lean well forward and press your palm over the opponent's face. The third analysis looks at the counter to a full shoulder throw. As the opponent steps in to throw, push against his left hip so you force him to twist too far. This brings him round to face you, so be on the lookout for the right fist. Block the punch with your left arm and step past the opponent's front leg. Push hard into him as you apply a cross-hop counter. Keep hold of his right arm as you drop into a sitting position. Pull his arm out and across your hip in a cross-arm lock. Fourth and final analysis is of the counter to a leg throw or shoulder wheel. Step back as the opponent steps in. Push against his right shoulder with your left hand. Turn with your opponent. Take his arm up behind him into a back hammer. Bring your right arm across the front of his throat. This closes off the windpipe and blood supply. Combination throws are used when the opponent resists your first technique. The black belt should be able to switch quickly between 2 or 3 alternatives. A back hock into a rear throw. A drawing ankle throw into a sweeping knee. A half shoulder into a rice bale throw. An inside hock into a drawing knee. An inside hook, followed by a transitional hip throw. A half shoulder into a figure 4 lock and throw. We have selected 4 techniques from the foregoing to analyse here in greater detail. The first is the back hock into rear throw. Step into the opponent, taking his punch out to the side as you step into a throwing position. The opponent resists. Pull his left arm and roll him down into a rear throw. Continue the roll. Place your right arm around the back of his neck. Bring your right knee up and lock. The second is the drawing ankle with sweeping knee combination. Step across the opponent and strike at his shin with your left foot. Turn, lean forward and sweep his knee with your right leg. Drop to the floor and place your right arm behind his head under his arm. Lean back to apply pressure. The third analysis is of a half shoulder changing to a rice bale throw. Step forward, cross block with your right arm. Strike to the opponent's ribs and take his right wrist in your left. Continue stepping around and strike upwards. He resists. Lift and step under his arm, twisting as you go. Slide your left hand under his right arm, looping your right arm round his neck. Follow him over and trap his head. Bring your right leg forward and lever his right arm over it, applying pressure against his elbow joint. The fourth and final analysis is of a combined outer hook and transitional hip throw. Step to the side, pulling down on the right arm. He resists. Counter the resistance by stepping across whilst placing your arm behind his head and dropping on one knee. Aid the throw by pushing against his left leg. Apply a bar and collar choke. Now we are going to take a close look at the inside leg sweep to see the precise details of its application. Inside leg sweep is particularly useful against the advancing opponent. Step forward on your right leg and cross block. Strike to the ear. Take hold of the opponent's ear, pivot on your right leg and sweep against his leading leg. Ensure that your own leg remains rigid. Keep hold of his right arm, drop down on one knee and punch behind the ear. Next, we're going to look at some defences against the kick. A defence against a front kick. An alternative response to front kick using an X block. A scooping block against front kick. Rotating block. Defense against a roundhouse kick. Defense against a roundhouse kick using a scissors movement. Defense against a back kick. Defense against back kick followed by punch. Now we will analyze these movements. Let's look at that first defense against front kick in more detail. Step to the side and block the kick with your left arm. Trap the opponent's foot by closing your elbow on it and step forward into him. Reap the supporting leg away as you push forward against his shoulder. First, strike him in the groin, then push his legs to one side, finishing him with a punch to just below the ear. Now let's look at the X-block defense. The opponent punches, you step back and block. Bring both arms back as he kicks, and X-block him just above the ankles. Straighten and twist his legs so he's forced to turn away. Lift his trapped leg high so he drops on his face, and kick him as he lands. Drop onto one knee and take up your final guard position. This too is a defense to a punch and kick combination. Block the opponent's punch with your left arm and scoop his kick with your right. Draw his left arm down as you raise his foot high and step in close. Lean forwards and strike his neck with your right forearm. Reap his supporting leg and go down with him to the mat. Push his right arm out of the way as you reach under his neck with your right. Then link fingers and apply a choke. Defense against a front kick using reverse block. Step across with your left foot, turning your back on the opponent as you go. Strike to the kidneys. Take his collar with your right hand, sweep his leg, and pull him back at the same time. Drop down and punch him below the ear. The next technique analyzes defense against a roundhouse kick. Block the opponent's kick with your left arm as you slide forward on your left leg. Drop onto your hands as you sweep your right foot around and behind the opponent's supporting leg. Twist back and take him down with a scissors movement. Then finish with a strike to the groin. Our final analysis looks at defense to back kick and punch. Step back from the kick and knock it down. The opponent continues turning and throws a punch, which you block with your left arm. Slide into him, striking him in the ribs as you go. Turn in close and lift him into a half shoulder throw. Finish with a punch to the medulla. Next, we're going to look at another application of the X-block. Use an X-block against a downward strike to the head. X-block the opponent's punch, pull down, bring your knee up sharply into his groin or solar plexus, strike with your right elbow to the back of his neck, then reach under his groin with your left arm, pushing down with the right. Stamp down onto his spine with your left heel, then step forward. Reach down and grasp both his wrists, drawing his arms up straight and forcing them forward in a double shoulder dislocation hold. Lean forward to maximize leverage. This sequence demonstrates defense against a double punch. Block the opponent's first punch with your left arm and his second with your right. Keep in close contact with both his fists. Bring his left arm down and tuck it under his right, at the same time turning your back, stepping through and moving into him. Lean forward and lever him over your right shoulder.